The Wi-Fi shut off. Not sure why. It came right back on. Incredible. Incredible how something like that can ruin your night. Ruin your text thread. So if you guys can make it to this live, obviously I feel bad because whoever's waiting for the Q&A was at the very end of vote. I didn't want to even go back to that. So I can be done with that. That's fine with me. I would love for anybody who is going to pop in to... Let me get rid of this one. Wow, we got a mess over here right now. There is a video that should not be up right now. So let me get rid of it. Okay, we'll deal with that later. What's up, everybody? I don't know what happened. So let's go for our Q&A here. We'll say we'll be done with it. We'll be done with our thing. Yeah, you like my house? I just want to take my gal and sit on that couch and read her poetry, you know? What's up, everybody? Exactly, Bran. I shouldn't have said it as many times as I did. I mean, YouTube was serious. It's like, oh, you're done? Okay, no more. So we'll be done with it. I mean, there's not too much more. A lot of that is the main text that we know. So let's go for our Q&A. I trust you guys the most, honestly, so I don't mind answering your questions. If you have a question, let me know. I mean, I think my apartment right now is pretty nice. It's a good view of the city, wide open. I got my stairs. I got a fireplace. I can seat like maybe 80 people, so we can just do what it is. We can just do it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to recover from those texts though. Reading people's private texts, I think, is just like next level uncomfortable. It just is. I mean, reading like intimate texts between two people, I just feel like is not fair because it's not meant to be read in court, but it is. Okay, the first question tonight. Tess, why do you have a pumpkin on your table? Listen, it's part of the decor. If you don't know about being as fancy as you need to be, look, do you see the setup here? It's part of the aesthetics. So I've got the wine. I've got a coffee cup as well. The pumpkin is part of like, you know, it's aged pumpkin. So I get a new pumpkin each week. I put it on the table. People are like, wow, culture. You know what I mean? That's how people know. The pumpkin's culture. And if you don't know about culture here, you can look at my place here. We could all be sitting here having a conversation, very distinguished. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, question. What is the most important lesson you've learned in the last 5 years? Oh my gosh, that's a good question. If I had to pick one, that's a great question. Let me think about that for a second. Okay, I'm going to give you two different answers. I've learned how cold and crazy and dirty the world is because I was I would say, innocent. I had been through a lot, but like I just didn't see the world for what it is. Now I hope this doesn't sound like crazy, but I just feel like my eyes are more open, obviously, to like reality. Like I see that human beings can be really great or really horrible. So I would say that that's number one. That would be the number one thing I think I've learned, is because I grew up, I don't know, not sheltered by any means, because I went through a lot as a kid, but I think just I didn't really see how bad things were. And now I do. So I would say that's one of the biggest lessons. And then the positive side is kind of what we talked about before, is really, really take your time to enjoy the moments you're in, because you just don't know if you have tomorrow, and it's not guaranteed that you have it. And I think that is so missed in our daily life, right? Because we have our social media, we have our life, we have a routine. And what happens is we just live like we always say things like, you know, when I'm this age or this and that, it's like, there's just no guarantee for that. And so I don't say that to be scary or to, be dramatic. I say that in a sense of like, you just have to start learning to live in the moment. The past shouldn't dictate the future, and the future hasn't happened yet. So really you have one option, and it's to be alive today and make the best of today. And that's the thing I try to center myself in the most. So those are two major lessons that come off the top. Yeah, I mean, it's been 6 years, so almost 7, because it started in 2019 and it's 2026. But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot. I've completely changed as a human being from when I was 22 to 29 now. So, but living the present is one of the best things I could ever tell you guys. And then actually, one of the other things, radical acceptance is one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced. Radical acceptance is understanding the reality of your situation, knowing it cannot change, and allowing yourself to feel the feelings that come with that. That is one of the most powerful things I've ever experienced, because it cuts off all those lines. What if I did this? Or how could I have done this? Or what could I have? Blah. Let it go. Radical acceptance means I accept my situation. It is what it is. That's why we say that on the channel all the time. It's not cliche. It's true. It is what it is. So I'm no longer going to spend the rest of my life trying to figure out how I could have fixed something in the past. I am where I am. Life is what it is, and I can only be better today and try to be better tomorrow. But I live in the moment and try to, work through things as time goes on. Appreciate you guys. How's my health? It's not great. I was gonna actually tweet this out earlier today. You just don't know how precious your health is until you have health issues. And I was just someone who never really had a lot of health issues, and I'm grateful for that because I see people who are struggling. I'm not going to try to make this a comparison situation by any means, because I know there's people who are suffering way worse than I am. So I'm not trying to sound like a victim or sorry or sad for myself. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to probably live with my meningitis or whatever is in my brain for the rest of my life, keeping it at bay. It's never just going to go away the way I was hoping it would. And, unfortunately, I just have to live with the consequences of what happened and the fact that I have it, and I don't get to change it. So radical acceptance. I can't change it. And I try to be as healthy as I can, so that way, it's like being in the moment. Be as healthy as I can, do the things I know that are important. And you guys know I'm a huge advocate of exercise. So I try to do something really good for my body and mental state every day. That way I can function. Because I'll be honest with you, like, stress has a way of just destroying you. It just does. It changes. It just destroys you mentally and physically and spiritually. So, but yeah. That's awesome, Jessica. That's amazing. Yeah, sometimes there's situations you do need to leave and get out of. I don't have what I had. I think I try to say this to you guys all the time. When I was at 22 or whatever, 22, 23, my whole life didn't just change with losing just my immediate family. Everything about my family changed. Everybody changed. Everything changed. Every circumstance changed. Everything changed for the rest of time. And so sometimes change when it first happens is so horrible, and sometimes it's necessary. And then you grow and you learn and you change over time. But I'm learning to be in that moment of uncomfortability when change happens, because it is inevitable. Life is going to change. So how DPI keep connection with wife and little kids? Any tips? I'm sorry, can you re-say that again? Amber, no. And that's just kind of one of those things like we talked about before. I don't go into those places because it's just not the type of person I am. I'm not going to air out everything. But in those situations, you understand, like, when something this big happens in a family, it changes everybody's opinion about everything, and it really creates offense. And if you hear exactly kind of what Corey was trying to say in her trial, which unfortunately isn't the reality for her, because she was, in my opinion, she's the one that caused the whole thing. But the whole idea is that you would think everybody would unify and become this big unit of love and support, and everybody's got each other's backs as we're all family and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that doesn't always happen. That does not always happen, and it's okay. It's okay to have that. It's okay to not have relationships with people that you did your whole life. And I don't know. You just have to get to a point where, again, radical acceptance and where you want to be in your life, and you have to start being the driver of your ship. That's the best advice I can give you. It's not about dominating other people like stupid Andrew Tate. It's about how I make my decisions and what I'm trying to accomplish and who I want to surround myself with, because that matters. It really does matter. Who you're around will determine your life. So I'm just being real with you. It will always determine your life. Question, what do you do for your workouts? That's a great question. I will have to answer that on AlphaMade and show you. I weightlift. I do some cardio. I have to be really careful with my meningitis because any pressure in my head can cause more issues. But I lift 4 to 5 times a week. And then I used to run, but it can cause more issues with meningitis. So I have to do like steady state cardio or like shoot baskets for basketball. But I have to show you guys because I love exercise and I love helping people. So I'd love to show you guys how to correctly do these exercises. So we'll have to get into that. It's just hard because I don't have anybody to film it. And my gym is a little hard-nosed about filming in the gym. So we'll get on that. I did see another one. Hold on, it's going too fast now. I gotta scroll down. Yes, if you guys haven't seen it, it's called AlphaMade. And I'll have to repost about it. But this is what's so unfortunate. I was so motivated to do this channel because I've always wanted to talk about working out. I've always wanted to talk about mental and physical fitness, and then all the lies of the industry, because people are having surgery, men are on steroids, women are on steroids. They're not telling you the truth of how they're so fit. They're not telling you the truth. And so it's very rare to find someone who's naturally in great shape that isn't on something. And that's what's so unfortunate is they're selling you an idea just like a product. They're selling you a lie. And so that's kind of my biggest issue with all fitness. I don't like that. What is the best marriage or parenting advice you've ever gotten? So I have not really had any perfect epiphany for marriage wise. My favorite thing I've ever read or heard, my boss was listening to it on a long work trip. We listened to the whole book of the 5 love languages, and that changed my perspective a lot, because in this book, Gary Chapman is a Christian marriage counselor, and you hear he changes their names, but it's these couples that come to Gary and are in the craziest of circumstances, where sometimes they've been away from each other for years. They've been in a relationship with someone else for years. They're already either divorced or not, they're going to get divorced, or it's over, right? It's literally helpless. And Gary shows examples of how people misunderstand each other. And this is what we were talking about earlier with gender roles and stuff. But you guys are awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to do AlphaMade. I really, really want to. But I had my stroke 3 days after I started the channel. Literally, I'm not kidding. But Gary Chapman just talks about how in a relationship, you have to really work hard on that relationship. And I just think it's interesting because you realize that you're not having you have to learn how to communicate. You have to be, it's very self-sacrificing to be in a marriage, honestly. Like, I think a lot of people get married for like the enhancement of the other person, and then you realize that it's really like I have to give up a lot of me to make sure that I'm giving the relationship what it needs, and both of you have to be doing that on a consistent basis. Now, as far as parenting goes, I hope that for me, my biggest thing is like I'm trying to be a father that is loving and understanding of my children, that gives them the right kind of discipline in life and not shame them or make them feel emotionally responsible for me or things like that. So I have a completely different, I don't really have advice on parenting, to be honest with you. I just know what my goals are, and I know, like, I learn from different places about what I want, but I want my kids, this is my biggest hope in the world. My kids are going to be affected by what's happened in my family for the rest of the time. That's their family's legacy, unfortunately, on my family side. So I want them to know that has nothing to do with them, and it's not going to define them. And then I want them to be critical thinkers. I want my children to grow up and be able to know what their core values are and what they believe, and spend their time learning and growing and ask a lot of questions and feel satisfied with their decisions and feel like they have someone to come back to and always, work with, and know that this is there for them. So that's what my hope is for my babies, is that they always will have me. I'll always be there for them, but that they learn how to be confident in themselves, to love themselves, to be, the word successful doesn't have to be tied to a monetary thing or a job or something big you did or a